On a quiet Saturday morning in the tree-lined suburb of Brookhaven Pines, Martha Ellison peered through her living room blinds like a hawk spotting prey. The street shimmered in the late summer heat, but what caught her eye was the house across the cul-de-sac, a freshly painted colonial with hanging baskets overflowing in bright fuchsia blooms. The new owners, a black couple who'd moved in 3 weeks earlier, were unloading cedar planks from a truck. From Martha's perspective, everything about them felt like a challenge. Too new, too bold, too different. She clenched her coffee mug as she muttered to herself, "Not on my watch." Across the street, Danielle and Marcus Carter worked side by side, laughing as they measured the wood for a new front porch railing. Both wore paint-splattered jeans, the easy camaraderie of people used to building things together. Marcus checked the level while Danielle scribbled notes in a worn leather planner. They didn't notice Martha glaring, nor did they hear the sharp click of her phone camera. Inside her spotless kitchen, Martha scrolled through the Homeowners Association website, her mind already racing. She had spent years on the HOA board before stepping down, years crafting the very regulations that kept Brookhaven Pines orderly. And now here were these newcomers staining her perfect street with unapproved modifications. She tapped the HOA hotline number with a satisfied smile. "Yes," she said crisply when the voicemail picked up. "This is a formal complaint. The new residents at 42 Cedar Lane are making unauthorized structural changes. I expect immediate action." By late afternoon, a soft breeze carried the scent of fresh cedar across the cul-de-sac. Danielle wiped her brow and admired their progress. "We'll have it finished before the weekend," Marcus said, just as a silver SUV rolled to a stop in front of their house. The HOA emblem gleamed on the door. Out stepped Harold Whitman, the HOA president, a man known for his ironclad adherence to rules and his reluctance to smile. Martha followed close behind, a triumphant glint in her eye. "Good afternoon," Harold said, clipboard in hand. "We've received a complaint about unapproved construction." His gaze flicked to the neatly stacked cedar, then to Marcus. "All exterior modifications require prior authorization." Marcus exchanged a glance with Danielle. "We understand the guidelines," Danielle said evenly, "but we're well within them." Martha couldn't resist. "Clearly you're not," she snapped. "That railing is a violation of Section 4, subparagraph B. I wrote those words myself." She folded her arms, waiting for their confusion. But Danielle didn't look confused. She reached calmly into her planner and pulled out a thick folder. "Actually," she said, her voice as smooth as the late-day light, "we wrote them." The air seemed to still. Harold blinked. "I'm sorry, you what?" Marcus stepped forward, his tone measured but unmistakably firm. "Danielle and I are the principal authors of the revised Brookhaven Pines HOA charter. We spent 2 years consulting on these regulations when the city commissioned updates last spring. We submitted the final draft to the board for ratification." Martha's mouth opened, then closed like a hinge in need of oil. "That's impossible. I chaired the original committee, and we modernized it," Danielle interrupted, her eyes unwavering. "We're urban planners. The city hired us to make your rules fairer, clearer, more inclusive. Those cedar rails? Pre-approved under Section 4, subparagraph D, a clause we wrote to encourage sustainable materials." She handed Harold the signed municipal contract, the HOA seal glittering at the bottom. Harold scanned the papers, his brow furrowing deeper with every line. Around them, a few curious neighbors stepped onto their porches, sensing a storm of a different kind. The late sunlight stretched long shadows across the manicured lawns as the quiet street held its breath. Martha's face flushed crimson. You can't just change traditions like that without consulting the people who—" "We did consult," Marcus said gently. "The board voted last year. Notices went to every household. Perhaps you didn't read them." A ripple of murmurs passed among the watching neighbors. Someone across the street whispered, "I remember that email." Harold lowered the folder slowly, the authority in his posture softening into something like respect. "It appears everything here is perfectly compliant," he said at last. "Mr. and Mrs. Carter, I apologize for the intrusion." Danielle nodded graciously. "Apology accepted. We're happy to answer any questions the board might have in the future." But Martha wasn't ready to surrender. Her voice cracked with frustration. "This neighborhood has standards. We've maintained them for decades. And now you—" "Standards," Marcus repeated quietly, each syllable deliberate. "Standards should never be a disguise for exclusion." He didn't raise his voice, but the words carried, settling over the crowd like a verdict. For a moment, no one moved. The only sound was the rustle of leaves in the evening breeze. Martha's glare darted from face to face, searching for support, but found only a wall of silent neighbors, some sympathetic, others wary, all watching her unravel. Danielle broke the silence. "We chose Brookhaven Pines because we value community," she said. "The rules we wrote are meant to protect that for everyone, no exceptions." Her gaze softened, but she didn't look away. "That includes you, Mrs. Ellison." Martha's shoulders sagged, as if the weight of her own indignation had finally become too heavy. For the first time that day, she looked less like a sentinel and more like a woman realizing she had misjudged the battlefield. Harold cleared his throat. "I think we're finished here," he said, offering a curt nod to the Carters. "Welcome to Brookhaven Pines, officially." The neighbors drifted back to their homes, whispers rising and fading like distant surf. Martha remained rooted for a long moment, then turned without another word, retreating to her immaculate house and pulling the blinds tight. As twilight deepened, Marcus and Danielle resumed their work, the cedar rails catching the last gold streaks of sun. The street grew quiet again, but the atmosphere had shifted. From across the cul-de-sac, a child's voice rang out, "I like your porch!" Danielle waved, smiling, the simple gesture carrying more weight than any HOA bylaw ever could. Later that night, with the railing complete and the stars beginning to show, Marcus set down his hammer. "Do you think she'll come around?" he asked. Danielle looked toward Martha's darkened windows. "Maybe," she said softly. "Maybe not. But tonight she learned who truly sets the standard. And somewhere behind those closed blinds, Martha Ellison sat alone, the echo of those words, "We wrote the rules," settling into a silence she couldn't quite escape.